And what it will say here is, well, it's going to have me choose a data folder. And then what it will say is Excel-based reporting. And when you click under that, you will see the Launchpad, which is the same thing as this, so it's another way to access it, as well as the templates, the 6 templates that Office Connector Starter comes with. Do all of you have that? Is there anyone who does not have either this Launchpad on the Windows desktop or not able to find the Excel-based reporting under the station? Everyone has it then. Cool. Very good. So hopefully you have worked a little bit with the templates, but let's take a look at all of them so that you're comfortable with them. That's the first thing I want to do is really, really talk about Office Connector Starter so you understand what you already have. I want to back up a little and say that Office Connector is an Excel-based reporting tool. It's an add-in to Excel. It lives in Excel. Everything you do with Office Connector, you do from within Excel. It's as though you take Excel and lay it over the top of your Timberline database. I want to stress that. I want to make sure you understand that this isn't a pivot table or any other form of consolidating and then displaying information. It's actually creating a link between a cell in Excel and a field in Timberline. So it gives you a great deal of flexibility and a great deal of power relative to creating your own reports and having things look the way that you want them to look in the familiar format of Excel. So the first thing that I want to talk about today and take a look at is the cost to complete template. Because this is one that seems to be really of interest, especially now as we come close to year-end, looking at where the jobs are and where costs are and doing some forecasting and looking at profitability and all of those things. So on the starter template, we're going to open the cost to complete and begin by looking at that. And you'll notice that when I open the template, it opens straight up into an Excel workbook because, as I said, everything is in Excel. Office Connector, again, is an add-in to Excel, so you will find the Office Connector toolbar under the Add-in tab if you are in Excel 2007 or 2010. If you're in Excel 2003, that was prior to Microsoft reconfiguring Excel and having all ulcers on Monday morning, the first time we opened it. And this toolbar would be located at the top of the worksheet with all of the other toolbars and formatting tools. So that being said, what you're seeing here in a toolbar is actually what is usable with the full function version of Office Connector. You would have received when Office Connector Starter was enabled for you, so when you installed 9.7 or above on Timberline, you would have received a 5 business day free trial of Office Connector. Many people, unfortunately, didn't realize that free trial auto-started rather than needing any kind of proactive movement from you. It started on its own. And so those 5 days for a lot of people expired prior to them even knowing that they had it. So that is available to you. And SCA can request that for you. Marina or Linda or anyone at SCA can take care of requesting that evaluation for you. And you would have a 5 business day free trial of the full function version of Office Connector. So that's like, I kind of want to make sure you understand where that toolbar is and how this works. So now we're going to, again, I want to draw your attention back to the Office Connector Starter, which is what this template is. This particular template is a cost to complete used for job forecasting and that sort of thing. Anytime you look at a template that is an Office Connector Starter, or any template that has been created by Event One Software, who created Office Connector, you will see that it has an information sheet on the first page that talks about the template and what it does, what you need in order to make it work, how you make it work. Okay, I've got it open, what do I do now? And a little bit about the design. And then you'll find on most templates an admin page, and this is looking for parameters. It's looking for how to define the information that you want to see. In this particular case, it just wants a job number and an as-of date, because it's just going to pull, you know, a cost to complete. It's going to pull by cost code all of the costs to date and that sort of thing, and expenses to date. I'm just going to leave it with today's date and click this refresh button. Anytime you see a refresh button like this on a template, you want to use that to refresh, because it is no doubt doing something in addition to just refreshing the data. It's doing something like replacing formatting or something like that. As I refresh it, I am now grabbing or accessing Timberline. And so it's asking me to identify a Timberline data folder. This would be a list of 4 Timberline data folders, and you would select one. And at this point, it would be prompting you for your Timberline login credentials, assuming you have security enabled, which I'm sure you do. I'm on sample data. I don't have security enabled, so it didn't come up for me. But it will, for you, prompt you for your Timberline ID and password. This is the cost to complete template that comes free with the Office Connector Starter on Timberline 9.7 and above. I want to be real clear which ones I'm talking about as I go along. So this is an Excel spreadsheet. At this point, this is open now, and I am in Excel. I can do any Excel function that I want here. You'll see that this particular one includes the estimate, the commitment, the cost to date, and then forecast the cost to completion, and the over-under and over-under percentage. This is intended that you would populate this and send this out to a project manager, or a project manager could populate it for him or herself. And that the project manager would then go down and stick the cost to complete numbers for whatever information he or she has and send that back so that you would have that cost to complete information. You'll notice that across the top of this there are plus signs. This is an Excel function, and many of you, I'm sure, are very adept at Excel, probably more adept even than I, which, you know, good for you. So you know this, but this is grouping. This is an Excel function, just grouping these 3 columns together. So when I click on the plus, I can look at the detail behind it, the original estimate, the approved changes, and then this is an Excel calculation, adding these 2 together. So then they have been grouped so that for ease of viewing, and to view it all on one screen, you can see the total estimate, the total commitment, cost to date, as I said. Now, when the project manager fills in an amount here, we'll fill in an amount here, you see that it recalculates across the cost to completion, recalculates the over-under, and the percentage. So this is taking care of this forecasting for you. Because I'm in Excel, I can add any Excel function that I wish. These templates with Office Connector Starter, the 6 templates that it comes with, cannot be edited relative to what's being pulled in from Timberline. You can't change this or add or subtract anything that's being pulled in from Timberline. But I could add a column and put in an Excel function. I absolutely could do that. So I could insert a column here, and maybe I want the original estimate amount. Maybe I want the difference between the estimate and the commitment. Maybe I want that. We can do that. So I could say estimate commitment. And I can just do a straight Excel function and say this equals that minus that, and then just copy that down. And I would have added information to this that is an Excel function only. So that capability is available to me because I am, as I said, and emphasized strictly in Excel. Do you have any questions about that so far?
No.
Okay. Down at the bottom of this particular cost to complete, there's also a little contract summary and profit projection. So this is kind of a thumbnail, gives you a quick look at what is going on with the job and you know, what the projections are. The difference here is that the difference between this template, this cost to complete template, and a cost to complete template with a full function version of Office Connector is the ability to edit what's coming in from Timberline. So I'm just going to minimize this and go back to the Launchpad. I'm back on this Launchpad, and there is another tab here called Reports. This is the 30-plus reports that come free when you purchase a license of Office Connector. And you will have access to these during the 5-business-day free trial of the full function version. And you can see that among these templates is a cost-to-complete template that actually is the same. So I'm going to refresh that. And there we go. And populate it, only this time it's going to look exactly the same, but this time I'm able to actually pull in more information from Timberline. So maybe I want, I don't know what I would want. What other information might I want on here? I'm thinking about it. I'm going to insert a column here, and maybe I want to look up, what do I want to look up about this? We'll find out. So I'm going to look up information to add in here from Timberline. So I'm going to go to the Office Connector toolbar. I am in the full function version of Office Connector with a designer license, designer capability now. I'm enhancing the same cost to complete worksheet that I was using in the starter that was free. So I'm going to look up, I'm going to use the lookup function. Office Connector works off of a query and 4 functions, lookup, find, count, and sum. I'm going to use the lookup. It's pulling up a list of the files in my, or the tables in my data folder that I have selected, sorry. And I'm going to go to job cost and go to the cost code. And if I'm not sure that this is the right table that I want, if I click this preview, it will show me what's on that table so I can look at it and make sure before I go any further. And it's going to ask me to identify, okay, you want the cost code, but for what job? Where will I find the job? And I could type in a value, 03001, or I could type in a cell reference and say you'll find the job in B5. So I'm going to say $B, $5. I'm not using extras. And you'll find the cost code in B13. And I am going to just lock the column for the cost code because I'm going to copy this down. And now, what do you want? What information do you want? Well, let's find out what I want. Maybe I want, well, let's just do the original, let's do the original estimate. We'll do that. even though it's already on this sheet. We'll put it on here because I just want to show you that you can add information on the templates that are on the Launchpad. So I'm going to do a number. I'm just formatting this, and now I can just copy that down. And I have the original estimate. So I've added that information from Timberline. So with the full function version of Office Connector, I can add information from Timberline. And on the cost to complete from the starter, I could add Excel functions, but I could not add information from Timberline. So I just kind of want to show you the differences on how that works. So let's go ahead and get out of this and look at the other starter templates. Another one that's really useful is the account ledger with detail. And this particular one gives me the ability to define a group of accounts that I want to take a look at. So it gives me the ability to put in an account mask, so I can put a prefix, for example, and say I want all accounts with that prefix, to give an accounting date range, what I want as far as accounting method. So if I left it like this, I would get, if I left the account mask blank, so it's just everything, I would get all the accounts. So I'm going to put in a mask and say it is any account that starts with 10 dash, and then I'm using the %, which is a wildcard. That's a wildcard in Excel and a wildcard relative to Timberline. I'm going to click Refresh Report. Again, it's asking me to select a data folder, and now it is populating. Well, it will in a minute here. Populate this this worksheet. So we have the detail on the account ledger. So that is what this particular template can do for you. And you can see also it has the grouping, so you can close these and look at very specific accounts. And maybe you want to save this. Maybe you want to share this with someone who doesn't have Office Connector, so with you know, an accountant, you know, an auditor, I don't know who you might want to share that with. And so you want to save this just as a static spreadsheet that you can then send to someone. Office Connector gives you that ability to save as values, and that's what this icon is. And when you click that, it saves this spreadsheet, strips out the Office Connector functions, but leaves the values in the cells. So it becomes a static spreadsheet. So the advantage of that, obviously, aside from being able to share it with people without Office Connector, is that you can maintain a history. So for example, on the cost to complete worksheet that we looked at previously, had I saved that as values, I would have a static spreadsheet for a specific date, and I could keep a history of the job. So I could have the spreadsheets all the way through on what the project managers had provided to me for numbers and where we were relative to total numbers on the job as of specific dates, that sort of thing. So I can keep a history. Any questions about this particular template? Okay. You guys are scaring me because you're quiet. Okay, this particular one is a job list with maps and weather. This one is really kind of fun because it gives you the ability to look at your job site and be able to get directions, to look at the weather of the site, to be able to look at what's around it. It actually has a hyperlink that goes to Google Maps, so it can show you you know, show you on the map, which is, of course, how you can get directions, and then also selects the weather. So I can double-click on that, and I'm not sure why it didn't work. That's scaring me a little bit. Oh, well, okay, let's refresh the data and then try it. All right. I'm not sure. Oh, there we go. Okay. Sorry. So this one is linked to a job in Beaverton, Oregon. I'm in Washington, just across the bridge from Beaverton, Oregon. So you now know sort of what the weather's like for me. I'm not sure what the weather's like for you. But so it gives, you know, just gives you some basic information. Come on, thank you. Some basic information and you know, just kind of a little thumbnail. It's kind of a fun one and useful when you're looking around for directions. So if you're going from job to job or that sort of thing. Any questions about that one? Okay. Lisa, do we have any property management companies online with us this morning? No. No. Okay. This is the Sage Timberline Office dashboard, and this is actually an example dashboard that you can create using Office Connector. And frequently, executives, for example, have a dashboard, kind of a little thumbnail of how the company's doing and that sort of thing. And so you're able to provide this particular preset dashboard with Office Connector Starter. However, if you had the full function version of Office Connector, then you could build one yourself, or you could tweak this and have specific information that they're looking at. So you would just enter a company or just leave it blank and get all of the information that is in the Timberline database in all folders. And you can see that this is, you know, just showing AR and AP and a little bit about just a little thumbnail out of everything, you know, job costs, that sort of thing. So it's a nice little dashboard. And like I said, gives you the ability to define a particular company. So however my accounts are set up, so I want whatever I want to look at. So any questions about this one? Okay. Well, you guys are just whipping through these. This one is probably one of the most useful things. The cost to complete, well, all of these templates actually are really useful. The cost to complete and this particular search Timberline seem to get the most play and the most interest. This gives you the ability to search through Timberline for something that you know is in there, but you can't find it. And you know a little bit about it, but you don't, you know, it was, maybe you think you saw an invoice, or you're almost sure there was, you know, some kind of entry put in, but you can't find it. So now I can search for it. And I can select which applications to search. I'm just going to look at, I'm not going to look at property management since we don't have any property management folks. And I can put in any little drib or drab of information that I happen to have that will define this. So I'm going to put in an accounting date. And I know that May seems to be on sample data the most active month. And maybe I know that it had water in the description. Maybe I know it was about water or plumbing or cement, but I really don't even have to put that if I don't want to. And maybe that's all I know about it, but I know I saw it. So I can put that information in, click search, and it is searching Timberline for anything that meets that criteria. Anything that hit those applications had the word water in it somewhere and was within that date range. And it found 2 matches in AP and job costs. And so when I click on it, it's showing me the invoices that were found. So when you think about this, and you think about how you could narrow this down, it's kind of interesting because you could potentially maybe I want to narrow it down by job and say, okay, I want any costs that were in on this job, or maybe a particular cost code, or maybe a particular vendor, if I know the vendor. Anything on this job on these dates, between these dates, and search and see what all it comes up with, and it's going to come up with a month's worth of, AP invoices and general ledger, and job costs had 135 hits. So let's look at those. And I can see what went on in this job. So when you're thinking about it, if you wanted to maybe get a report of a particular vendor, you could do that with this free template that just gives you that ability to define. You could go back to search. Let's look at a particular vendor. Look at 1601. I could look, maybe instead of just the job, maybe I want all jobs, but I want it for vendor 1601, and see what all that vendor submitted in a particular date range. Maybe I want it for the year, or in this case I'll leave it for the month because I'm not sure how many I'm going to get for that vendor. But I could look at what all did that vendor submit for the year, or maybe what all did that vendor submit on a particular job, or whatever. And it only has one. I should have put in the whole year. So that would be the one that we, of course, saw already. But think about how flexible this particular template is. You have this template already. It's with Office Connector Starter. It's free. It's sitting there in your system, and you have the ability to use that right now already. Any questions about this one? Okay. Well, those are the 6 templates that come free with the Office Connector Starter. If you choose to take advantage of the 5 business day free trial of the full function version of Office Connector, as I said, these 30+ templates become available to you. All of the templates on this Launchpad are enabled to work with Office Connector Query. They all use Office Connector Query to get the information from Timberline. The full function version of Office Connector is a family of products. Office Connector Query, which is what the starter templates use, is Office Connector Query. Office Connector Write, that gives you the ability to write back to the ODBC replaceable fields in Timberline from within Excel. And Office Connector Import, that gives you the ability to have your data in Excel, and import will create the appropriate import file for you. I'm not sure how many of you are using import to get data into Timberline now, but that is something that certainly we could discuss in a more specific setting relative to looking at what products do, or anyone at FCA can discuss that with you too. So all of these, as I said, are enabled to work with Office Connector Query. It's using Query to mine the data from Timberline into Excel. The ones at the bottom. I have a question. Oh, okay. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, I didn't know if you could hear me. So you have to have the full version in order to have the import function.
There are 3 separate products. Office Connector Query, Write, and Import are 3 separate products, each sold separately.
Okay.
So in order to use import, you would need to have the import product.
I see. Okay. So if you use the cost to complete and you gave that to your project managers, they filled it in, and you just wanted to take that and put it back into Timberline, you would just need the import function?
If you wanted to do that, so good question. Really well framed. Thank you for doing that complete framing. You'll see that there is a cost to complete here that has right in front, which means it's enabled to work with the right product. And this particular template gives you then the ability to, here's what I'm going to do. Yep, I know I have to select one. So here we go. So what this one's doing is using query to populate the templates in the first place. So you would need Office Connector query, a standard license or a designer license, either one. Standard license is a read and refresh or runtime only, so it can be used with templates that have already been created. A designer license gives you the ability to define or create your own templates or edit or refresh. The full spectrum of functionality of Office Connector is embodied in the designer license. So in this case, I would send this out to property managers, or excuse me, project managers, and they could, or your project managers in the field may have access to Timberline, in which case they could do this themselves and populate it themselves. They would enter amounts in here, send it back to you, and with this template, you could write these amounts straight back into Timberline from this template if you also had the right product. And this is writing to the cost to complete and cost at completion fields in job cost miscellaneous worksheets. Do you know those two fields? Yes. Okay. So that's where this is writing to. So if you have the right product, and you could do this, again, with a right standard license or a right designer license, and because it's preset, this template is already created. If you're using this template, you could use standard licenses to do all of this. Populate it, send it out, get it back, write it back into Timberline.
Okay, great. Thank you.
You're welcome. And my apology, sometimes I get started talking and I just am not hearing as people are asking questions, so apologies for that. I'll be more diligent. Whoops.
Sorry, I have a question.
No way. Okay, go ahead.
If someone writes comments on that on column Q,
Yes.
will it always be associated with that category, cost code and category, even when you in the future add new cost codes?
Yes, it will. Excellent question.
When
Thank
you refresh the data?
Correct, because you're thinking about, because Excel would just increment down and the comment would stay in this row even if it wasn't this cost code anymore.
Correct.
But Office Connector has functionality included that's called OC, Office Connector Retain, and it does just that. It retains this comment with this row. So it's going to, or with this information. So it's going to stay with the row that it was originally attached to.
Okay.
That's a function of Office Connector.
Because the reason why I ask is because our project managers would probably take this and instead of just having one column that says cost to complete, they would probably want to set up every month that that the job runs out to. All this year, if it's 2 years, 24 columns, to project out each month's worth of cost by cost code, by category.
So they would want that all on one sheet to project out on 24 months, or they want, because you could really keep a workbook of the cost to complete and have each month on a separate sheet.
That is correct. And then link it back to this. And then link it back to column. Link it back to column. Okay.
Correct. And then when the month has passed, so you're not projecting that one anymore, you just save it as values.
Yep.
and you have whatever the last projection was for that month, or every month you save them as values,
yeah,
so that you have a complete history.
Yeah, because in Excel, just regular Excel, it's a little bit difficult to do that because it overlays. Like you said, it doesn't have that ability to retain that column with that cost code, or the
Exactly.
external data with the data coming from Excel. I mean,
Exactly
from Timberland.
right.
Thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome. The other thing about this, too, is that, you know, as you know, when you're writing this information back to the cost of complete or cost of completion, fields in the miscellaneous worksheet, they overwrite each other, so there's no history maintained there either. So the only way you're retaining the history is by saving, you know, a static copy of this sheet. So that, you know, becomes an important piece of historical data relative to over the course of the job. Any other questions? Okay. One of the other ones that I want to take a second and have you look at is the GL Account Explorer. And this particular one shows the capability of Office Connector. Again, this is a template that you'll have when you either do the 5 business day free trial, so for those 5 days you would have this, or purchase a license of Office Connector. So this particular one lets you look at information on particular GL accounts. You can put one account in here. Again, you could put the mask, you know, of the prefix, whatever you want. I'm going to leave it with all accounts. And this is going to pull up the current balance, the current period activity, but it has drill down capability. So when I look at the activity on a specific account with this particular template, anything that has these little chevrons by it to the right, I can drill down and look at the detail. So I'm going to come down here to a cost account because it's a little more, I don't know, a little more exciting, I guess. And maybe look at, let's look at materials here. So I can either in the current period activity or well, let's look at the current period activity. And when I drill down, it's showing me the GL transactions on that account that made up, you know, that activity. And then I can drill down further. I can drill down into the batch and look at whatever is in, you know, everything that was in that particular batch. Sure I can. Why are you not drilling down? Okay. Well, that wasn't good, was it? Oh, it did. Hello. So this is everything that's in that batch, and shows me all of the, you know, everything that was together. If I want to look at a particular invoice, there's an invoice associated with it. I can drill down and look at the invoice, and it's going to populate this invoice. This is, I want to make sure you understand, this is an image that's included with Office Connector. It's not intended to be a photographic image of the invoice by any stretch. It's just a depiction to let you know that you're looking at, you know, the information relative to an invoice. And if it had been paid, if it was marked as paid, you would be seeing some check information here that you could drill down into also. So this particular template gives you that ability to really look at the detail behind the information that you're looking at.
Excuse me, Bonnie.
Pretty cool.
Bonnie, excuse me.
Yeah.
If we're using TimberScan and actually scanning the invoices, would that image be available?
You know, that's a good question, and you're the second person who's asked that of me. And I'm going to confess to you that I'm not sure, but I don't see any reason why it wouldn't, although it would involve connecting to search for that particular invoice. So I am not an expert or particularly knowledgeable about TimberScan to know if it's storing that image in Timberline connected to that particular account, or how that's working? The answer is I don't know. But you know what? Because you're the second person who's asked, I want to find Timber scan image. Okay. I will find that. And who am I talking to who asked that question?
My name's Sandy. I'm with Paddock Swimming Pool Company.
Okay. Okay, Sandy, I am going to get an answer to that, and I'll get that answer back to you.
That'll be great. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Any other questions? Okay.
I guess it would be the same question regarding Timberline document management. You know, will it?
If the image was in there, could it pull the image?
Yeah.
Okay, and your name, sir?
Eric from Grunley.
Aaron from, what was the company again?
Eric from Grunley Construction.
Okay. Oh, Eric, hi.
Yeah, hi.
Okay, great. I will find that out and get that information to you.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Any other questions? Okay, are there any of the other templates here that are of particular interest that you'd like to take a look at, or anything else about the starter templates? Any questions or anything else that you'd like to see relative to those? Okay. I think that when you're looking at, overall utility, Office Connector certainly offers that to you. These starter templates are incredibly useful. I hope that you feel that way and will take advantage of those. I hope that you will take advantage of the 5 business day free trial and at least work with some of the other reports so you have an idea overall of what Office Connector can do for you. I think we have a little bit more time, but I actually, if you don't have any additional questions or have any of the other reports that you're particularly interested in, Linda or Marina, do you have anything that you want to add here?
This is Marina, and I don't. I'm not sure. I think Linda's still on mute, so I'm not sure if she can actually communicate anything.
Okay.
Linda, you can type something in if you do.
She may be there just, screaming into her phone saying, "You're not hearing me." I'm going to pull the payroll year-end one here so that get an idea of this particular one. Come on. There we go. Okay. So this is, just a worksheet here, and, has the pay IDs and all of that. Fringe information. It looks like this particular one, for whatever reason, was probably not the best one to pull because for whatever reason, it is not populating. I'm thinking that the sample data probably is not feeding it exactly what it needs, but you get an idea of what it's doing. It's pulling this information, giving you kind of a thumbnail overall for the year relative to payroll. Employee query, Office Connector Write. One of the things about Office Connector Write is, as I said, it writes to the ODBC replaceable fields in Timberline, which means it gives you the ability to create vendors, create employees, for those of you who have seasonal employees or whatever, and a lot of folks in and out at different times of the year. This gives you the ability to actually create them from within Excel, or update information. in this particular template, if I put in an employee who already exists, it would give me the information on that employee, and then I could go updated information. I could go in and update an address or tax information or whatever I've got for this particular person. If it's a job ID, or excuse me, an employee ID number that I put in that does not already exist, then I can enter all of this information and set up that employee. When you think about what this allows you to do, think about updating deductions and fringes. I could pull a particular employee or pull up a list of employees and their deductions and fringes and be able to make those changes and write them back in to Timberline all out of an Excel spreadsheet. So there's a lot of things that I can do as you think about it and think about the ways that you can make this work for you and save time and save, you pulling out your hair.
Bonnie, I have a couple of questions.
Sure.
One question is, can we see the job cost work in progress report?
Absolutely.
And
that one was there it is.
Okay. Tony, let me know if, Tony said thank you. And then I have another question from Tani. It says, to get the full version query and the right product, do we order that through FCA or another company?
Through FCA.
And Tani, you can just contact, and everyone on here, you can contact me or you can contact Linda. And Linda would be able to give you a lot more detail. I think I've worked with everybody on here. You're welcome.
And be able to provide a proposal to you so that you get an idea of the bottom line number of specifically what you're looking for. But the idea of this particular session, and I appreciate your interest in moving to the full function version of Office Connector. I primarily want to make sure everyone understands the Office Connector starter templates and make sure everyone was able to access them. And then if you want to take advantage of the 5 business day free trial or move into the full function version of Office Connector, the differences in license types and products, then we can certainly work with you on that. Any other questions? If not, then I think that I will stop sharing my screen here, and we are probably, that's about all I've got. If there aren't any other questions, Marina, did you want to wrap up? I do want to thank everyone for your time this morning. I really appreciate it, and I want to thank Linda and Marina for putting this together. And that's it for me.
Okay, well, if anybody has any questions, please feel free to give us a call. I do believe that Bonnie will be following up with some things for Sandy and for Eric, and she will also be giving everyone who attended a phone call just to, see how you guys liked everything and if you need any assistance. Okay?
Thank you.
Thank you so much, and you guys have a great week. Bye-bye.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.
In the